So Christopher Reeve's path to stardom didn't start overnight. Actually, it took almost a full decade until he was not say discovered, but was unveiled as the new Superman in 1978. His 34-year career until an accident paralyzed him and limited his work. In a tragic horse accident, eventually killed him in 2004. But when he was finally discovered, like I said, it was a decade-long path to the Salkins and Richard Donner and everybody else. Born in New York City and raised in Princeton, New Jersey, he discovered a passion for acting and theater at the age of 9. He studied at Cornell and the Julliard, making his Broadway debut in '76. His breakthrough came with playing the title character in Superman. Now, born on September 25th, 52 in New York City, to Barbara Pitney Lamb, an associate editor of Town Topics, and Franklin de Dollier Reeve, a teacher, novelist, poet, and scholar. Many of his ancestors have been American since the early 17th century, some having came on the Mayflower. Truey's mother, he was a 12th-generation descendant of William Bradford, a pilgrim and a 5-time governor of Plymouth Colony. Other ancestors of Reeve came from the French aristocracy. His maternal great-grandfather, Malin Pitney, was an associate justice of the U.S. Supreme Court from 1913 to 22. For over 25 years, his paternal great-grandfather, Franklin Dollier, was CEO of Prudential. His granduncle, Franklin Jr., was married to Margaret Winfred Lee, maternal aunt of First Lady of the United States, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. So, again, true marriage, he's related to the Kennedys. Franklin and Barbara divorced in '56, and she moved with Christopher and his younger brother Benjamin to Princeton, where he attended Nassau Street School and then Princeton Day School. Reeve's parents both remarried. He has 5 half-siblings and several step-siblings. Reeve excelled academically, athletically, and on stage. He was on the honor roll and played soccer, baseball, tennis, and hockey. He also played the piano and sang in the choir as a soprano. Now, unfortunately, he had a difficult relationship with his father, Franklin. He wrote in '98 that his father's love for his children always seemed tied to performance and put pressure on himself to act older than he actually was to gain his father's approval. Between '88 and '95, the two barely spoke to each other, but they reconciled after Reeve's accident. Now, Reeve found his passion for acting in '62 at age 9, when he was cast in an amateur version of the operetta The Yeoman of the Guard, and it was the first of many student plays. His interest was solidified at the age of 15. He spent the summer as an apprentice at the Williamstown Theatre Festival in Williamstown, Massachusetts. Now, after graduating from PDS in June '70, he acted in plays in Boot Bay, Maine. He planned to go to New York City to find a career in the theater. Ultimately, however, at the advice of his mother, he applied for college. He was accepted into Princeton, Columbia, Brown, Cornell, Northwestern, and Carnegie Mellon. Reeve said he chose Cornell primarily because it was distant from New York City, and this would help him avoid the temptation of working as an actor immediately versus finishing college, as he had promised his mother and stepfather. Reeve joined the theater department at Cornell and played Pazzo in Waiting for Godot, Sigismundo in Life is a Dream, Hamlet and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and Pollyexes in The Winter's Tale. Late in his first year, he received a letter from Stark Heseltine, a high-powered New York City agent, who had discovered Robert Redford and represent actors such as Richard Chamberlain, Michael Douglas, and the great Susan Sarandon. Hasselstein had seen Reeve in A Month in the Country and wanted to represent him. Reeve was excited. He kept rereading the letter to make sure what it said. Reeve was impatient with school and eager to get on with his career. The two met, but Reeve was surprised to find Hasselstein strongly supported his promise to his mother and stepfather to complete college. They decided instead of dropping out of school, Reeve would come to New York once a month to meet casting agents and producers to find work for the summer vacation. Reeve received favorable responses to introductions and auditions arranged by Hasselstein, but had to forego several desirable opportunities because the band began before school ended. In the summer, he toured the production of 40 Carats with Eleanor Parker. The next year, Reeve received a full summer contract with San Diego Shakespeare Festival, with roles as Edward IV and Richard III, Fenton and the Merry Wives of Windsor, and Domain in Love Labour's Lost at the Old Globe Theatre. Before his third year of college, Reeve took a 3-month leave of absence. He traveled to Glasgow and saw theatrical production throughout the UK. He was inspired by the actors there, and often had conversations with them in bars after performances. He helped actors at the Old Vic with their American accents by reading the newspaper aloud for them. He then flew to Paris to study the French theatre. Reeve spoke fluent French, having studied from the third grade through his first year at Cornell. While there, he spoke only French to immerse himself in French culture and watched numerous performances. After returning from Europe, Reeve chose to focus solely on acting, although Cornell had several general education requirements for graduation yet to complete. He managed to convince theatre director John Clancy and the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences as a theatre major he would achieve more of a Julliard, Group 4 in New York City, than at Cornell. They agreed his first year at Julliard would be counted as his senior year at Cornell. In 1973, some 2,000 students auditioned for 20 places in a freshman class of Julliard. Reeve's audition was in front of 10 faculty members, including John Houseman, who had just won the Academy Award in The Paper Chase. Reeve and Robin Williams were the only students selected for Julliard's advanced program. They became good friends as they had several classes together in which they were only students. In their dialects class, who needed Skinner, Williams had no trouble mastering all dialects naturally, whereas Reeves was more meticulous about it. Williams and Reeve developed a close friendship, and Reeve was a godfather to Williams' eldest son, Zachary. Now, in a meeting with Houseman, Reeve was told, "Mr. Reeve, it's terribly important that you become a serious classical actor, unless, of course, they offer you a shitload of money to do something else." Houseman then offered him the chance to leave school and join the acting company among performers such as Kevin Kline, Patti LuPone, and David Ogden Stiers. Reeve declined as he had not received his bachelor's degree. In early 1974, Reeve and other Julliard students toured the New York City junior high system and performed The Love Cure. In one performance, Reeve, who played the hero, drew his sword out too high and accidentally destroyed a row of lights above him. The students applauded and cheered. Reeve later said it was his greatest ovation of his career. After completing his first year at Julliard, he graduated from Cornell, the class of 1974, as a double major in English and music history. Now in 1974, he also auditioned for the soap opera Love of Life to pay tuition fees at Julliard. Initially, he was promised a schedule would not interfere with his studies. However, his character quickly gained popularity, leading to increased screen time. When Reeve reminded the producers of their agreement, they responded that it wasn't set in writing. The following year, he had to leave Julliard to fulfill his contract with CBS. He did receive an honorary Doctor of Fine Arts degree from Julliard in 1997. Now, in between filming the soap opera, Reeve took acting classes at the HB studio and appeared in an Off-Broadway production of Birkenstock at the Theatre for New York City. The play was directed by Barbara Loden, who became Reeve's mentor. She coached him not to play on the nose, and he often followed that advice over the years. After that, he starred in a limited run at Berkeley Square, the Manhattan Theatre Club. Now, in late 1975, he auditioned for the Broadway play A Matter of Gravity. Katharine Hepburn watched his audition and cast him as her character's grandson. With Hepburn's influence over CBS, Reeve worked out the schedules of the soap opera and the play so he could do both. Because of his busy schedule, he ate candy bars and drank coffee, and played some meals and experienced exhaustion and malnutrition. As one of his performances, he entered the stage, said his first line, and then promptly dropped. Hepburn returned to the audience and said, "This boy's a goddamn fool. He doesn't eat enough red meat." The understudy finished the play for Reeve, and the doctor treated him. The doctor advised Reeve to eat a healthier diet. He stayed with the play for 9 months and was given favorable reviews. Now, Reeve and Hepburn became very close. Some gossip columnists rumored a romance between the two, but Reeve said, "She was 67, I was 22, but I thought it was quite an honor. I believe I was fairly close to what a child or grandchild might have been to her." She told him, "You're going to be a big star, Christopher, and support me in my old age." He replied, "I can't wait that long." Reeve said his father was a professor of literature and came to many of the performances, was the man who most captivated Hepburn. When the play moved to LA in June 1976, Reeve, to Hepburn's disappointment, dropped out. He stayed in touch for years after the play's run, but Reeve later regretted not staying close and just sending messages back and forth. Now, Reeve's first role in a Hollywood film was a small part as a junior officer in his 1978 naval submarine disaster movie, Grey Lady Down, starring Charlton Heston. He then acted in the play My Life at the Circle Repertory Company with his good friend William Hurt. Now, during the off-Broadway production of My Life, Stark Hesselstein told Reeve he had been asked to audition for the leading role as Clark Kent Superman in Superman. Lynn Stahlmaster, the casting director, put Reeve's picture and resume at the top of the pile 3 separate times, only have the producer throw it out each time. Though Stahlmaster's persistent pleading, a meeting between Richard Donner, producer Ilya Salkin, and Reeve was arranged. The morning after the meeting, Reeve was sent a 300-page script. He was thrilled that the script took the subject matter seriously and that Donner's motto was verisimilitude. Heseltine also told him that Marlon Brando was going to play Jor-El and Gene Hackman was going to play Lex Luthor. Reeve eventually flew to London for screen tests, but he still did not believe he had much of a chance as a 24-year-old. On the plane ride, he imagined he's approached the role. He later said, by the late 70s, the masculine image had changed. Now it's acceptable for a man to show gentleness and vulnerability. I felt that the new Superman ought to reflect that contemporary male image. He based his portrayal on Clark Kent on Cary Grant's role in the 1938 film Bringing Up Baby. After screen tests, the driver said, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you got the part. So here he is, a 24-year-old man. He needs to put on 50 pounds, but it was all done, and David Prowse helped him with the weight being put on correctly. Now, Reeve was never a Superman or comic book fan, although he had watched Adventures of Superman starring George Reeves. Reeve found the role offered a suitable challenge because of a dual role. He said there must be some difference stylistically between Clark and Superman. Now, it's like this, ladies and gentlemen. The idea, he was playing two characters at the same time, and the thing is, with his Julliard training and the influence of good friends like Katharine Hepburn and Robin Williams, therein lies the part. But I think when he said that line, "Who are you? I'm a friend," to see him as Superman, he was Superman, and it impacted Alex Ross, who was based most of his career drawing the DC version of Superman on Christopher Reeve. He is the ultimate Superman, although there's been pretenders. He is the number one. And for some fucking reason, he never got an Oscar nomination, and we still wonder. And he's never got an honorary Oscar, which he should have. But, I don't think it was typecast by Superman. He had some good roles as well, like Somewhere in Time and, Death Trap and all that. So, but ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Reeve, there was no hotter actor in 1978 than I don't think there's ever have been, because he went from overnight sensation that took 10 years to everybody knew his name. And, he was Superman. He still is Superman. So a bird, it's a plane, it's Christopher Reeve. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here with our screenshots and remote control podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.